Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with Daniel Mangina and Alex King. Today is Tuesday, April the 28th, 2020, 4 p.m. New York time. Wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we are on the mend here. We are healing. We're getting better. That's the way we look at things when stuff happens in life, and some stuff happened with Alex in life, and she's moved past it and she's healing, and that's the most important thing. So we're glad to have you with us. I mean, we missed you last Thursday.
Oh, guys.
We did. It's not the same,
Yeah.
Good to have you back.
I was watching from the hospital, though.
Oh, you were watching?
Well, I watched half of it, and then I had to go in to get an MRI, so.
Right. Yeah, there are things that are important, but
yeah,
good. I'm glad you were watching. That's great.
I mean, I probably could have watched in the MRI, but you can't bring electronics in there, so whatever. Rules and rules.
A bit of a blockage there.
A little bit. I'm like, where's the Wi-Fi in here?
Yeah, no.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because, if I remember correctly, you sent a message saying that you weren't going to be able to make it because you had to go get this thing done.
Yep.
And you suggested a topic that day. And if I remember right, the topic was vulnerability.
Yes.
Get it done.
Which is actually kind of appropriate because you were in a vulnerable place.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably how I came up with the topic.
Probably.
Allowing myself to feel vulnerable and allow other people to take care of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not always the easiest thing to do. It's certainly where we have the least amount of resistance.
I don't know. I got used to it pretty quickly. I was like, oh, I don't have to get out of bed. Cool. I like this.
So in other words, you took your comfort zone with you.
Yep, sure did. It comes with me everywhere. That's why I'm always comfortable.
Vulnerable is one of those concepts that has multiple meanings to it. And I think it probably means something different to every person.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will think of vulnerable as being weak or as being at risk or something like that. Other people think of vulnerable as being open-hearted.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's an overlap between those sets of groups. But how do you think about vulnerable? When you came up with the topic, what does it mean to you when you say vulnerability?
I think it means all of those things, actually.
Okay.
I mean, I personally don't take stock in the being so open that people can take advantage of me part of the situation, but I do believe in the being vulnerable to other people and allowing them to be vulnerable with you. And, I feel like that makes a relationship, what's the word I want to look for? More special. It makes it, easier to get along with, and there was a specific word I was looking for, but I don't know. It lost me. It'll come back to me.
You're associating specifically with relationships then?
Any type of relationship, any, parents, relationship, your significant other, your friends, whoever, any type of relationship. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I know Cindy Chavez would agree with that because she figures everything in our life is something that we have a relationship with, whether it's a human, an animal, a thing, doesn't matter what.
Yeah.
For all relationships. So, yeah, that's her thing. So, how about you, Daniel? When you think of the word vulnerable, is that something that you think, first of all, do you think of it positively or negatively? Do you think of it as a particular definition, or do you just not think of it at all? I mean, what?
Like, vulnerability, I think it can be one of our biggest strengths. And I think there's the whole discussion about being safe to be vulnerable, or whether ignoring safety levels is one of the biggest parts of being vulnerable. I think vulnerability is the biggest leap of faith that we can make in some instances, and the most beautiful way that we can demonstrate trust. Not even in other humans or even in ourselves, but in reality, universe, God, divine, or whatever, that it doesn't matter what happens in this exchange. Ultimately, I'm going to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very comforting place to be in, too. Of course, vulnerability has been a big part of what's been going on with the pandemic. A lot of people feeling very vulnerable because of the disease floating around. And because of that, we are seeing a lot of different ways that people cope with vulnerability. Some more successfully, some less successfully. But what do you guys think about the way people have been demonstrating their vulnerability and dealing with it during this pandemic?
I just want to say I remember the word I was looking for, and it was whole.
We'll put that onto our notebooks.
Makes a relationship more whole is what I was thinking.
Okay.
I would say
Yep.
I don't think it's vulnerability being displayed by people. I think it's victimhood in some instances.
Ooh.
For me, vulnerability is about being open.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're prized open.
Mm-hmm.
But vulnerability isn't about, oh, I'm weak. It's I'm open to whatever comes. Because really, the outcome of being vulnerable isn't known until we've been vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trusting that I'm going to be able to handle whatever the outcome is when I surrender fully in vulnerability. I think there are different layers of things that overlap into what we generally look at as vulnerable. But for me, vulnerability is that point when I make the choice to be open, come what may.
Mm-hmm.
So
being subject to something outside of me doesn't make me vulnerable because I haven't opened up to it. There's not vulnerability by choice,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even there's a circumstance and I'm subject to this circumstance versus there's a situation going on and I'm open to my present awareness and my present state within the ensuing of this situation. So that's where I kind of see the difference between those who are demonstrating vulnerability within the pandemic situation and those who are subject to it, those who are rising above it, and so on and so forth.
I see it as being both, is what Daniel's saying, is being vulnerable and victimhood in the same thing if you're thinking of it in a negative sense, because some people think like, okay, I'm open, but I'm so open that I can be taken advantage of. So in that case, they both kind of, exactly.
Because I can be vulnerable and powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can.
I can allow vulnerability to be the doorway through which I step into allowing a challenging situation to expand me. I did a coaching call earlier today, and we're talking about. So basically, I did a group call. No, I did my challenge last week, and one of the challenges that was brought up when we spoke about stories was being a woman of color in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Well, that's a real situation that I face. So that's not really a story, is it?" And so I agreed that I do.
Yes, it is.
Today. And what I said was, at the end of the day, regardless of the challenge that we overcome, regardless of the challenge that we face, if we overcome it, we overcome it. Mm-hmm. And I can open myself up to the possibility for that thing to be an opportunity for me to grow, or I cannot. I'm still in it. So I'm not being vulnerable by being in a situation that I'm in. I have the choice to close off. I have the choice to open up in the face of that situation. And I see that here, that we have the opportunity to close off. We have the opportunity to be open to how we feel, open to what comes, open to what the world's going to look like afterwards. But we're choosing how we're going to relate to it. Could say that vulnerability is an expression of how we choose to relate to a situation.
Okay. So let me ask you a question based on what you just talked about. And I'm going to tie it in directly to how I will surmise the large majority of people have responded to the pandemic, which is in fear. I mean, fear has been the predominant emotion. So if someone is feeling fearful about what's been going on, or about anything really, are they also feeling vulnerable?
No, I would say. Because
they probably would say they would. That's why I bring it up.
I think fear is a natural response to a situation where billions of people are being force-fed fear. So anyone that's listening to this that's feeling fear, you're not alone. It's almost there's an orchestrated essence to it, which has the conspiracy theorists' tails, feathers, wagging, whatever. But yeah, whether or not it was deliberate, or whether or not it's just the momentum, or whether or not it's just mass hysteria, or whatever, the fact is, fear is something that we've been force-fed. It's everywhere you look. I don't watch the news when I'm in America because it's the diet it's terrible. I remember the last time I was in Chicago, 2015, And I just watched for a minute just to watch what the tickers were. Everything's bad news. Everything is what's going on with the world.
Okay.
And it's cycling and cycling. And then there's the imagery and there's this and latest news. They say the same thing every 15 minutes. They give the same crappy news over and over and over again. I was like, anyone would think that nothing good is going on in the world.
That's right.
Yeah, basically.
The news seems to be a delivery system for sadness and despair. And that's why I love, there was this really cool website I found ages ago when I started doing my newsletter at first. I used to do like happy news for the week. And I found this website that had positive news things that were on. And I'd like take an article from there and share it. But yeah, fear, man. Have some more.
Change the channel and have some more.
Yeah, change the channel. Have it in a different language.
Right.
Change the channel and have someone else responsible for the thing that you fear.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even watch the weather. That's how much news I don't watch.
Yeah.
Well, weather is just more fear. I mean, they don't go out of their way to get all excited about sun.
Yeah, right.
It's tornadoes and hurricanes and microbursts.
But it's
I've never seen breaking news. The sun's coming out. I've never seen that. It's always breaking news, hurricane, thunderstorm.
It'll be breaking news. The sun's coming out. Now skin cancer is going to be going up, or like.
Yeah, or breaking news. The ozone layer is gone again.
The sun's out. It feels warmer. That means that we're all going to die from UV rays.
It should be at this point. I don't know how your weather is, Walt, but it should at this point. The sun should be breaking news because it's so depressing outside. It's like breaking news. The sun's out today.
We hadn't had sun in quite some days. You're right, but we actually had some. Louise and I got out during the short sunny portion of the day. Which is nice,
Well, I'm convinced that the weather is being controlled by the government because hear me out, because we won't stay inside for this pandemic. So they're like, well, if it's crappy out, you'll sit on your couch, but if the sun's out, we're gonna go to the beach. So
you're joking, right?
Yes, I am joking. No, I don't really think the government controls the weather. I'm just going off my conspiracy theorist boyfriend situation.
Well, that also raises another question. What about vulnerability in both a primary relationship and in secondary relationships where one person is vulnerable and the other person is either blocking their vulnerability or denying it or something like that? How does that fit into our definition that we're kind of laying out here about what vulnerability is all about?
That's hard to do, man. To be open and be with someone who's not as emotionally open as you are, almost impossible if they're not willing to grow.
I think it's hard, not impossible. I think the difficult everything doesn't create impossibility.
Well, I said almost impossible.
Oh, politicians.
Yep. Yeah. I gotta do something while right? You gotta do something while I'm not watching the news.
Mad skills.
But yeah, I've been there before, and it's tough being in a situation where you're like, I want to share everything with you, and they're like, this is my name, age, sex, and location. That's all I'm giving you.
Name, rank, and serial number.
Yeah, exactly, right. Exactly.
It's an interesting thing because vulnerability is, well, when I was growing up, vulnerability was about how much you were able to block those unfortunate and in many cases getting in the way emotions that men weren't supposed to show. I mean, women were allowed to be vulnerable, men were not allowed to be vulnerable. And if you showed vulnerability, it proved you were weak, proved that you were not a man, you weren't a real man. And having gone through that, I now can say with 100% confidence that it sucks. It's not a nice way to live. It's a miserable way to live. But it also raises in my mind, how many places in the world does that still exist? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just asked the question.
Well, look at the scale of where are the men dying early in life, because those are the men that have been holding it all in until they explode.
An explosion isn't very pretty.
No, not from what I've seen.
No, to be fair, in most places where the men are dying early, you don't have the women lasting 40 years longer. Usually they're dying around the same rate.
Well, yeah.
You know,
or they orchestrated it, depending on where you sit with conspiracy theories.
Damn.
they orchestrated it.
The female takeover.
It's always the spouse, man. It's always the spouse.
Girls, we run the world because we killed all the men. We run the world. We forgot to take their sperm. We've ended the world.
Hashtag Beyonce.
Yes, we're back, and we are in a silly mood again. It's a good thing. Oh, by the way, Jeffrey asked a question that's unrelated to what we're talking about, but it's very related to what Alex and PJ and I have been talking about. He wants to know, is there another episode of The Grass is Greener coming up?
Just in time, Jeffrey, just in time. Yes, there is a new episode. We are working on it as we speak. It has already been written, but we have to edit and shoot it. So, yeah.
And it's almost done editing, actually. I don't know if you've seen the latest version. But,
I have not seen the latest version, but yet I've seen the version before
number
that. 5
of all the different ones that are named the same.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah. When you get a chance, take a look at that one.
Yeah, my Dropbox updates me late. Like, I've already got text from you guys, and then it's like, oh, by the way, you checked your Dropbox today. And I'm like, yeah, that was like from 2 days ago, bro. Catch up.
Bro, catch up. Catch up.
You know?
But yes, the short answer is there is a new episode. It's almost ready to start recording, and I believe PJ has been in touch with the cast and is starting, I think, on Friday. Friday, I think, is our first day for doing recording. So. Oh
wow! Nobody told me. Okay.
I'm not 100%. Don't quote me on that.
I will quote you on it.
Sure, but
I'm gonna be like, "Oh, Walt said."
I think that's
not being funny, Walt, but we don't have to quote you on it. You just said it on a recorded medium.
Oh, picky.
So,
run the tape back.
You quoted yourself on it.
All right, okay. I give it. I'll be vulnerable and say yes. You know, I understand.
That's like saying, "Don't put words in my mouth," but let me tell you this. It's like, but I just said it live. Okay.
Now, I also have a couple of questions that may tie into the vulnerability thing. It depends on where we take it. From Josephine, she says, first, what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, God.
My favorite conspiracy theory is that there's not enough conspiracy theories.
I didn't know there was one like that, but okay.
No, that's just mine personally. Because
I see. Okay.
Because I feel like there are.
That's my personal take.
Because there's too many conspiracy theories as there is, and too many conspiracy theorists, like, out of control. So my conspiracy theory is there's not enough.
I guess my take on it is that there are two types of people in the world: those who are interested in conspiracy theories and those who are not. I'm in the second category. So same.
I'm sitting right next to Walt.
You know what mine is? Mine is that the conspiracy theories are really the subjects of the conspiracy theories spreading misinformation so that people will just think that it's just a theory and lose sight of the fact that it's really fact.
Oh, like The Matrix? Like the fact that they made it a movie so that we would think it was science fiction, but in reality, it's probably closer to the truth.
Is it? I don't know.
Conspiracy theory.
I tell you what I watched. I watched Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
I haven't seen that in years. Oh, what? The documentary?
Yeah, not Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Okay.
Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
I'm curious to know what the fourth and fifth kinds are.
Right.
So third is contact. Fourth is another kind of abduction. And fifth is when you initiate contact with extraterrestrials.
Okay. So like, what was that movie? With that lady. I don't know.
More of a clue than that. I mean, I'm not much of a movie watcher anyway.
Contact. It was Contact. Yes.
So contact would have been third kind because it was agreement. Hey, you want to come and visit? Yeah, I'm going to come and visit. If they were like, hey, little girl, you're coming with me to come and visit my planet in the Virgo system, that would be fourth kind. if they've been like, hey, aliens, can you give us some technology so that we can come and visit you? And then they give the technology and then they visit it, that'd be fifth kind.
Well, that's what that
Well,
was.
that was contact,
fifth
yeah.
kind.
No, but they didn't ask for it. The message came with the instructions.
Are you sure?
Interesting distinction.
Yeah, they picked up the sound.
Oh, that's right, because they just sent it out and they were like, whoever picks it up can come hanging. But
yeah, whoever picks it up, it's going to be intelligent enough to come hang out with us in our reality.
You're right.
Where time is bent, and it looked like you just went through. One of the most powerful lines in that movie was when they're like, the guy's like, yes, I think it's interesting that static was recorded, like you said. But even more interesting is that there was 18 hours of it. Like that one line, it's like, because basically what happens is, Walt, the whole film is building up to this whole thing about, is it real? Were there really aliens? Was this megalomaniac making it up to make the world spend all of this money? Blah, blah, blah. And they build this big contraption. These terrorists blow it up. They have a second one, giving you the synopsis. And then it looks, so for her, there was a whole thing about, should a woman who doesn't believe in God or like in a higher power be allowed to go because she believes in science and all this stuff? And there was questions of faith. Great. Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey.
Jodie Foster, that's what it was. Thank you.
Great film, Walt. Really, really powerful. And then for her, she drops in this little capsule and she feels like she goes through a wormhole and she goes to this other dimension. And then they're like, yeah, we did this representation from your memory so that you could understand, like, and be comfortable. Because otherwise your brain would explode or whatever. And she's got all these questions and they're like, well, this is the first step. So like, we just wanted you to come here, like, chill out, dude. Like, you can go
right.
And then she pops out having had this massive experience of going through a wormhole. But everyone else just saw that she went through,
dropped straight through.
Out.
Yep.
So they're saying, oh, so there's this whole thing where she goes in front of Congress and they're like, this was a big scam and all of this, and you're a liar and we shouldn't have sent you, blah, 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 like what's wrong with you and all this stuff. And she's like, am I going mad? Am I going mad? Because I know I experienced it. And at the end, it's like, yeah, there was 18 hours of it. So there was a whole conspiracy to cover up the fact that she'd really been there. And the people that were saying she's a liar had covered up the fact that she had gone to meet the aliens.
Yeah, great movie.
Really good one, Walt. You would enjoy Walt, I think.
Actually, I've seen it. Actually, I said that it was Jodie Foster at the beginning of the conversation. We'll skip over that part.
But thank you for explaining it for the listeners who haven't seen it and should see it.
Oh my God,
absolutely.
Did anybody stop me?
You are on a roll, man.
Stop you. You were on a roll.
Don't let me roll into the pit of death ever again. Ever again.
You were on a tangent. We just let you ride until you were.
That wasn't a tangent. We were on topic. I was on topic this time.
And it was great.
If I started talking about mining strategies in the constellation Pluto, that would be a tangent.
Yeah. But like I said, you have to explain it for the listeners who haven't seen the movie.
Well, I've just ruined everything for everyone that hasn't watched it.
I told myself I wasn't going to laugh because it hurt.
I need to be in my feelings right now. This is vulnerability.
I had no idea I was so powerful.
I'm dying.
I think Alex needed this.
I'm sitting with my embarrassment vulnerably and just allowing myself to be seen and to feel it.
He's feeling vulnerable right now. Please
and also the
give
guilt of not hearing what Walt said. Because I pride myself on hearing what people say.
Oh, buddy.
It's really okay.
It's going to be all right.
I'm just sitting with it. Thank you. I receive your love.
Okay, good.
But I'm glad you liked the movie. I liked it too.
I am actually going to probably watch it again today because it was.
I think I might watch it. I don't think Olga's seen it.
I don't know if Kenny's seen it. Yeah, that might be
I would open the door
have
and
to
ask, but Ariana's had a habit. She's got into the habit now of greeting everyone that's on my Zoom. She's a feature on pretty much every recorded Zoom call for the last week. So,
and we're the exception to the rule? Rude.
No, because I've had to initiate with her. If the door's closed, please, you don't come
Okay.
in.
All right, fine.
Today
Today is the day we learn the lesson, whatever.
Yeah, she probably still will. And her mum's out there anyway, so she's kept busy. But she comes and she invites me to come to her house. And then she's got an imaginary car and I have to sit down. If I don't sit down, no, you have to sit down. You have to sit down. And then she locks the door.
The
And I have
imaginations
to
of
like
kids, man.
follow her with her little turns.
Yeah.
So,
That's adorable.
Very cool.
all humans.
Yeah, I have the nieces over today. It's their first day out of quarantine, so.
Oh. Have they lifted the quarantine for you?
No, they haven't, but we had a personal quarantine where we're like, no one's coming over for 2 or 3 weeks, like no one. So this is their first day that they've been allowed to come over. Because if you remember the last time we talked to them, they were like, well, we can't wait to go to Alex and Kenny's house. And that was like a month ago. So, but the people that live at their house kept going out and interacting with other people that we weren't familiar with. So we're like, we're not taking any chances. You're stuck at your house. Bye.
This is kind of part of a topic that we talked about yesterday on the show about how there's like little bits of I call it rebellion, little acts of rebellion that people are engaging in. I mean, the larger ones are like people going to the beach in Huntington, California. You know, that's a larger one. But like, for instance, when we're out on the walking trail near here where we live, and most of the people on the walking trail around here don't wear a mask because they can maintain their distance. A few people do maintain the masks. But there are some of them now who are wearing the mask, but the mask has kind of dipped down below the chin. So it's like a little sprout of rebellion coming through.
So what is even the point?
I think the point is that it depends on how you read it. So different people are going to read it differently. I read it that this is the human spirit coming through.
Okay.
There's been Daniel went on very nicely a few minutes ago about how there's all this fear that's been kind of shoved down our throats. And I think people are kind of rebelling against it. I think they're saying, I've had enough of the fear. Yeah. It's not a conscious thing necessarily. Maybe in some cases it is, but I think it's just the human spirit just coming through saying, you know what, to heck with all this. I'm going to start being joyful in life again. And I count that as a good thing.
I saw a guy who came out of the grocery store with a sleep mask on his face. Like, you know, the sleep mask that you wear when you go on an airplane to cover your eyes? Yeah, he just brought it down a couple inches, and that's how he's getting through the grocery store.
Tough for breathing.
No.
I only wear it. I only wear mine like when I get into the store. I respect the rules because people are operating on what they're operating on, and I'm not really interested in triggering. I mean, my personal, having spoken to medical professionals that I trust, is that it doesn't even really do anything anyway. It actually causes trauma. So
it does.
So, but I respect the fact that other people are operating on there, and and the agreement that we have is that we respect social constructs in order to not put other people under stress. So I wear my mask when I go into the store. That's it.
Yeah.
So
that's very much what Abraham Hicks said in a recent broadcast that they did, because they're doing virtual workshops now.
Yes.
That's exactly what they said. They said, on balance, we would wear the mask just because it helps other people stay in a calmer place. And there's truth to that.
I remember the very beginning of this thing, I had allergies. So again, the grocery store is the only place I go. So I went to the grocery store and I was coughing and sneezing, and the stares I was getting, and this was before the masks were implemented. So I was just like, Can I be allergic to trees? Is that okay with you? Like, sorry. I'm allergic to everything out here. Leave me be.
They didn't realize they were driving you back into your safety zone.
Oh, yeah, they were.
Did it work?
Of course. But I was heading there anyway.
That's why I wonder. I mean, maybe it was just kind of like giving you extra energy, but it doesn't sound like it actually did it.
Well, there's instances like that all the time where I finally go out after like 2 weeks, and then I see somebody do something dumb, and me and my mother just look at each other and go, "This is why we stay inside. This is why." It's like the universe just proves it to us once again.
The law of attraction is very subtle. It comes through in a lot of different ways. You just described one way that it comes through quite beautifully.
Yeah. I mean, it can be something small, like some pedestrian crossing on the green, and I'm like, this is why I stay inside.
Okay, I'm really not making that connection. But
if it's a green light for me, but there's a pedestrian crossing, they're supposed to cross, press the buttons, wait for all the lights to be red, Too many idiots out there is what the universe is telling me. Stay inside, it's safer.
Okay. So what you're basically saying is that's one form of vulnerability you don't like to have.
Which part?
The part where there's the car imminently running into the pedestrian.
Yeah, I don't like that very much. And I don't think the pedestrian likes it either.
I wouldn't think.
No, not usually. No.
And that raises the point. There are different kinds of vulnerability.
Unless they're trying to.
I'm sorry. I think that's what I was alluding to earlier when I talked about how people who are in fear feel that they themselves are vulnerable. I think Daniel made a great point. It really isn't true vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
But from their perspective, they really are feeling vulnerable. They really do believe that they're in a vulnerable place, and the fear is kind of a way of blocking it and masking it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kind of sad to say, perhaps, but I think it's what people justify in their heads or their hearts.
Good example of someone accepting her vulnerability was this woman who decided to be the only person on a flight from Virginia to Massachusetts because everybody else was like, no, I'm not taking any flights. I'm staying home. She was like, no, I'm still going on my trip. Mm-hmm. And she was the only person literally on the entire plane. So they upgraded her to first class and she had a great time. They played music for her. It was a great time. And when she landed, everything was great.
It was interesting to read just the other day that JetBlue just put in a requirement that says you have to wear a mask when you're on the plane, which makes me wonder, were people doing all the social distancing and all that when they were on a plane, or were they wearing the mask and so forth?
But there's nobody on the planes.
There's nobody on the planes. The planes are empty.
That's what I'm saying.
You can social distance on a plane.
Very, very easily. Yeah. That's probably the best place to be right now, to be honest with you. You're in a tin. There's nobody with you except the wait staff. Yeah, sounds good to me. Oh my God, sorry.
Okay. I hadn't really thought of being on a plane as being a perfect place to social distance, but okay. I mean, certainly you're 7 miles up, so that's far away from everybody else.
Yeah, there's a lot of space in there. The only woman on the plane, like, why would you do that? I don't.
Listen,
a lot of airlines
I was saying tickets are $35 right now. So if I want to go somewhere, I'm going. So I totally feel
going
this
there
lady.
to sit in like my friend he lives in Dubai. He's from Australia. He's just gone back to Australia. He has to stay in quarantine in a hotel at the airport for 2 weeks, and the government are paying for it.
All the more reason. I'm on a staycation that the government's paying for. I'll go.
It's insanity.
Yeah, I love it though. Quarantine is my best life.
I'm surprised that there aren't more people taking these free staycations.
Matter of fact, I'm about to start Googling some flights while we're here. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go?
What hotel room in the world do I want to stay in for the next 2 weeks? All expenses paid.
Yeah. It's gonna be someplace nice.
That way, it doesn't sound all that exciting. I mean, staying in one hotel room for 2 weeks, yeah. I think I'll pass on that.
Well, we're staying here for 2 weeks, so might as well have a good view.
Stuff here.
You can bring your stuff.
I can bring on one carry-on and one more that goes into the luggage hold. I mean, that I can't put everything into that.
You can put a lot into it, and you're the only one on the plane. I'm sure they'll make room for you. It'll be all right.
Laundry would be a bit of a tricky thing too.
This is fascinating, by the way.
True.
No, this is reaching. That's what this is.
Yes, it's far. We're reaching far.
Reaching very far. So I think we've pretty much pushed the vulnerability thing to death. Where else can we go with the conversation today? We're in a happy mode. That's good, right? We
always are.
We're cracking wise. We're getting into that high vibration space. That's the place to be. But what else can we talk about that helps us get there and stay there? Well, I mean, like, what strategies were you using? You were in the hospital. You had to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah, but they send you home quick, fast, and in a hurry because
I'm sure they do. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was one thing to hang on to. But while you were in the midst of all of that stuff, how did you keep your spirits up?
It was hard. I was texting Kenny the entire time because they don't allow you to bring anyone with you into the hospital. And that's not something I'm used to. I always have a caretaker with me.
Yeah.
So that was nerve-wracking by itself. But oddly, I am comfortable in the hospital because I spend so much time there. So I'm just like, hey, Julie, what's going on, Joanne? You know, how the kids?
Well, it's nice to have friends. That's good.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge, but it wasn't as much of a challenge as it could have been if you weren't a frequent flyer.
Yeah, sad to say, but yeah. I mean, I brought my comfy things with me. I bring my blanket. I bring my phone, obviously, my tablet. Yes. Oh, well, you can't bring snacks because A, no outside food, and B, they don't know what's going to happen with you or what medications they're going to put you on. So some things you have to have an empty stomach. Some things you need food. But either way, they have to give it to you. So you can't bring snacks.
That's rubbish.
It is, right? And they have the best chicken salad sandwiches. So like, I look forward to lunch there. So they're like, are you hungry? Yes, chicken salad, please.
I feel like a chicken salad sandwich, but I don't like sandwiches.
Why don't you like sandwiches?
Are
you a terrorist?
I don't like bread.
I hear you on
for the purpose of the recording, and you asked me that question on the internet. No, I'm not a terrorist.
Sorry, that's what Kenny says to me every time I don't like something he likes. He's like, so you're a terrorist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not a joke.
He's like, you don't like cinnamon? You're a terrorist. I'm like,
You've
all
already
right.
you've already got an American passport. It's okay for you to talk about these things.
That's true.
I just realized what our new conversation is. We were talking about vulnerability before. Now we're talking about paranoia.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the diametric opposite.
Definitely something to be said for that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, chicken sandwiches are delightful. I just don't like bread.
So what I used to bread thing.
Tortilla wrap, and I basically make a wrap.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah. The only time I will eat bread is if there's a sandwich in between it.
Sorry?
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, the only time I'll eat bread is if there's a sandwich in between it. I don't like toast. I don't like pastries. I don't like. No, I'm not with any of that stuff.
If there's a sandwich in between it, that's fabulous.
Thank you.
It's actually the way we think about sandwiches now because we're doing breadless sandwiches now.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's not a sandwich; it's a salad, isn't it?
Yeah. Or a bunless burger.
Then it's not a burger. It's an oddly shaped steak thing.
No, it's still a burger with cheese, lettuce, tomato, all that.
No, it's a beef patty with a pseudo salad.
A pseudo salad.
And here's a tangent. I'm finding it more and more interesting. People talking about being healthy vegan diets and then filling their freezer with processed food.
True.
Not gonna lie.
I mean, besides toilet paper, the first thing that got emptied out in the grocery store was the frozen food aisle.
Yep. And then next was the pasta aisle.
And it kind of
no nutritional value.
I mean, how much freezer space did they have? That's what I was wondering.
Well, they probably have one of those basement freezers where they keep, they're vegans, so they don't keep meat in it. So they have like all this room for all their freezer.
For the ice cubes that they eat.
Yeah, the ice cubes, the, gluten-free ice cream and all that crap.
I've got something for you. What are your thoughts in consciousness in plant life?
Consciousness in plant life?
That's a tough one.
I 100% believe in consciousness in plant life.
So,
but does it affect the way you eat?
What do you mean?
Meaning like some people, like vegans are like, oh my God, I can't eat anything with a face and a consciousness and it lives and blah, blah, blah. It blinks, it has a name. And so if you believe in consciousness in plant life, what do you?
So Alex basically comes from the perspective that says, don't name your dinner, which, is a good perspective. I like that one. Oh dear, she froze up. She must be taking a call. She
froze sideways as well.
Yeah, pretty clever.
The vegans got her.
It's an interesting question though, and I think a valid one. And And at the risk of alienating vegetarians and vegans, I think there is a little bit of two-facedness there, because they're really saying that the only animal lives that count, or the only lives that count, are the animal lives. Plant lives don't count. And the argument I usually hear is, well, plants came here to be eaten. And my response is, you know for sure that animals didn't?
They do get eaten by
animals. And
animals.
then they get really upset when I say that, so.
The thing for me is, if something happens in nature, then you're going to struggle to argue if there's something wrong with it. If something happens naturally in nature, not learnt behavior from humans. So when I was in Asia, for example, there were monkeys drinking beer. Now, beer doesn't occur naturally in nature. They were going for the little monkeys were going for the empty cans, and they were like drinking soda and beer.
I had never heard of that.
There's a beach. There's a beach if you go to PP Don, Koh PP Don in Thailand. There's a little beach of those little mini rocky formation islands. One called Monkey Beach, which is basically monkeys own this island. But people go to see the monkeys, and the monkeys come and they'll come and play with you and take pictures with you. Naturally, they're just they're very confident monkeys. And people leave garbage and the monkeys finish it. So you see the monkeys running and in some instances even stealing people's beer.
I've never heard of that before.
It's
that
true.
Is wild.
So
where did you see this happen? Because my brother saw it live in Thailand.
I saw it live in Thailand as well.
Yeah.
So,
my apologies, my phone died.
Oh bueno. But if it occurs learned, then no. But if it occurs naturally, then lions eat other animals.
This is true.
And we should too.
Birds eat fish. Some birds eat fish. And some eat bugs. And some eat grass. And I think that they shouldn't be judged for that.
Agreed.
And neither should we as humans. My thing is this: I respect anyone's beliefs about what they eat and don't eat. I respect where you're at, but don't judge me because I like ribeye. Facts. I ethically source. I don't believe in animal cruelty. I'm very against it. I don't. I only have free range chicken, free range hens, so on and so forth. Blah 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 blah. I go locally sourced as much as possible. I don't really agree with the whole environmental impact of how many carbon footprints you saved by having it locally. You're using a phone to talk about this, so yeah. Honestly, let's be. I think if we're talking about base needs, me eating is probably more important than you being on the internet. So don't judge me. But generally speaking, I just don't like this whole idea of, plant consciousness is less important than animal consciousness. I think it's a bit like,
I'll go a step further. I will say that everything has consciousness. Inanimate objects, rocks.
And equal.
Yep.
And I asked a channel of infinite intelligence this question, and I got the same thing. Everything is conscious, and you to say that one is more important than the other is ridiculous. Have your reasons for why you eat and don't eat something, but do it in joy.
Right.
You're not in judgment. So that's what I do. Although I am judging of plants. That's valuable.
You're judging the judgment.
Yeah. Well, you make a good point here, maybe not intentionally, but I'll bring it out anyway, which is the person who is most affected by the judgment is the judger or the judge.
Yeah, but mine cancelled out because I judged judgment, so I think I'm okay.
So, yeah, there's also such a thing as judge justification. Yeah.
Judge justification. Oh, you guys.
No, but seriously, this whole thing about judging, people spend a lot of time. We here on the show have talked quite a bit about don't judge or the problems that happen when people judge each other and so forth. But I really do believe that the biggest risk for judging is to the judge. The person that they're judging it's really up to them whether they're going to take offense at it. but the judge, they've already offended themselves in addition to anybody else that they're offending. So it's like it's too late. It's after the fact. I mean, you got to look at this thing before you do the judging if you're going to try to ameliorate, block, prevent the harm that you do to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the old thing about when you point a finger, pointing a finger of blame, you got 3 more fingers pointing back at you, just like Alex just demonstrated for us. Yeah. That's
And one goes to the heavens. Wow. That's inviting some wrath.
Out of control. Oh my God.
Out of control.
It all points to the fact that we get to choose how we're going to respond in any of these situations. Mm-hmm. And that really, I think, is the bottom line.
Yeah.
So if somebody gets upset at me because I eat meat, I get to choose how am I going to respond to that? Or am I going to respond to it?
Very often. How quickly are you going to slap them?
I'm sorry?
How quickly you're going to slap them? You have this choice also.
I will take your word for it. I've actually never slapped anyone for saying
then you don't even know, man.
You don't know, man. You're missing out.
The joy that comes from the state of your hand.
Joy.
As you bring down the power of the heavens upon.
See, it's one. You may call it a joy. It's one of those joys that a 6'8" man never gets the opportunity to.
That's enjoy. True. That's. Are
you 6'8", Walt?
Yeah, he's huge.
You're 6'8".
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get to slap anyone, man.
No. They will put you in jail immediately just on size alone.
You're tall.
I mean, you walk down the street and you're at risk of being put in prison just because of how big you are.
Yep. Yeah.
It's crazy.
You are super tall.
Yeah.
You're like Klingon tall.
Klingon tall. Oh my God. True though. True.
But it's. Do you think you want to be a wrestler?
No.
Basketball player?
No. He's skinny. He's too tall to. Well, not too tall, but he's not wide enough to be a wrestler.
Yeah, I don't have a football player's build. I don't look like an offensive tackle.
Can I have like 3 inches? You'll still be 6'5".
I have often told people that if you can figure out a way to transfer it without harming me, you can have it. It's yours.
Dan, how tall are you?
I don't want to talk about it.
Wait, are you taller than me or shorter than me? I'm 5'7". How tall are you? Shorter than me or taller than me?
I'm not shorter than you.
Okay. Well, then that's fine.
No, it's not.
Oh, damn. Okay. Are you feeling inadequate? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to get in your feelings?
I'm in my vulnerability right now, being vulnerable about this.
Okay.
I don't even want to be 6 foot tall. This is the funny thing. I don't even want to be 6 foot. I just want to be like 5'10".
Ooh, okay.
Well, find out how to transfer it. It's yours. Seriously.
I even looked at but the thing is, do you know what's ridiculous? My body distribution is hilarious. I've got the torso of a 5'4" person and the legs of a 6 foot tall person. I'm unevenly.
I have a cousin like that. When he sits down, he's like all the way down, and I'm like, "Where did you go?"
Yeah, but my legs, when I stand side by side with someone that's 6 foot, my hips match. I've got long legs and like a little mini torso.
Oh, but that's the way you were made. So enjoy your meat suit for now.
I enjoy it. I'm just setting the intention in my consciousness that the next incarnation has the opportunity to experience the other side of things.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
By the way, on the topic we were on before about plants and animals and eating and all that kind of stuff, Jeffrey made a very interesting point. He said, this is why we show appreciation before we eat, by saying grace.
Yeah. Bless your food.
Yeah, I don't do that. Sorry.
I give thanks. I give thanks also to not just the life that may have given itself for me to have my meal, but whoever prepared it, whoever brought it to me. I sit in gratitude for everyone who brought the food to me.
Yeah, I don't make it a prayer. I simply make it part of my conversation. Like, well, Alex,
which is a prayer, really. It's a prayer of acknowledgement.
From the moment we sat down at the table to have that, I don't remember what all the fish that we had.
But that amazing!
It was delicious. It was absolutely delicious, and we were talking about, this food is great, and the staff are great, and Who knew this very simple place would have this wonderful food? And we were appreciative the entire time.
That's true. Yes.
I think that's more important than some formalized structure of gratitude. Thank you for this food before me. Now I'm going to go back to being a toe rag and not going to have
toe rag.
No appreciation.
Yeah.
For me, prayer is just focused energy.
Yes.
Around thought. And if I'm focused on gratitude, even if it's intermittently over the course of a conversation, that's more potent and powerful, in my opinion, than thank you for this food. It is so good. Absolutely. And then forget about it a second later as you mindlessly scoff your
shovel it all down.
Greens.
All right. Well, in that case, I do that.
I think you do. It's just you don't do it the formal way is all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't either. I mean, you saw that.
Right.
You saw that.
I feel it's awkward though when you're sitting with someone who does and you're like, oh, we're not supposed to start shoveling food in our mouths.
I don't judge. I let people do what they're doing. I sometimes even can say it silently on the way to a table if I'm not sure what the dynamic is, or even just pause for a moment. And I like to pause for a moment, reflect, in gratitude, and then get into it.
I feel like praying is so awkward for me because I'm like, do I look down? Do I close my eyes? Where am I supposed to be? Like, what am I doing with my hands? What do I do? It's just super awkward for me.
It's been an evolution for me. When I've talked quite a bit recently about how I left the church when I was 14 by choice. And those first 5 to 10 years were really, really awkward whenever somebody wanted to say a prayer. But over time, it got easier and easier. And now I just look at the person praying and just listen to what they're saying and see if there's anything in there that I like. If there is, I say, yeah, I like that. I feel good about that. And if there isn't, then I focus on something I feel good about.
Yeah. I should try that. Because right now I'm at the point where I'm like, is anyone watching me with my eyes open? And why are their eyes open? And that's me praying.
Yeah, I don't really believe in prayer etiquette.
I believe in just being positive all the time, and then good things will happen for you. Like, why do you have to concentrate on? I mean, every once in a while, I could see like in an emergency situation that's you don't know what else to do. That's what you turn to because that's what you've been taught, but not usually. Not usually.
I was always amused by the people who talked about Sunday Christians, people who were Christians on Sunday, but not any other day of the week. And they talked about it in church.
Yeah,
that was often part of a sermon, and the people that were being sermonized to would all nod their heads, and then they'd go out and behave like non-Christians the rest of the week. Which is that was part of the reason I went through my rebellion. But anyway, seriously, it was that, and I love the way you monotoned it, Dan. When you imitated somebody who's doing the formalized prayer.
Yeah.
For me, one of the most hypocritical aspects of the way prayers are often said, particularly in church, is in monotone. Particularly when they say, and I'm trying to draw from liturgies that are like 40 years ago, so bear with me for a moment. But it's like, make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the land. There's nothing.
There's no joyful noise.
There's no joyful noise being made.
Yeah.
But if you say it
very monotone,
then you have observed the formality of it.
Yep.
And I used to hear people do stuff like that, and I'd say, do you even know what you're saying? Are you paying attention?
Walt, have you been to a black church?
I have once, yes, and it's quite a different experience.
The lines are longer. There's food after.
And the people are real.
Yeah.
There's
and the prayers are actually joyful.
Yeah. Which
Sometimes it does get a little Catholic on me, where the peace be with you and also with you, and and then the awkwardness of the hug the person next to you, hug your neighbor, and I'm like, I don't like to be touched. Please don't touch me, awkward neighbor.
Oh wow.
I don't want to be touched by strangers, and I don't want to be here, so like I'm already in an awkward situation.
But there's no doubt about it. There are a small minority of church types, and not just Christian, but religious organization types that demonstrate joy, that demonstrate high vibration in whatever method of worship or activity that they engage in. And I admire that. That doesn't necessarily mean I want to join their particular brand, but I respect what they're doing even more than other people who don't quite do that as much. I think very highly of them. I think it's good.
I have no hate on anybody who prays or whatever.
Sure.
Do what makes you feel good.
It's just not my jam.
It's just not my cup of tea.
The first time I ever saw a New Orleans style funeral, I thought,
oh, I love New Orleans style funerals.
What?
That's how I want to go.
I mean, I'd leave out the first part, where they're playing the dirge. Just go right to the second part where they're playing the happy jazz.
No, that's the buildup, man. It's like, oh man, this really sucks. We're gonna miss this person. Snap! Yeah, it's the buildup.
I've never heard of this special type of funeral.
Oh, YouTube it. YouTube New Orleans style funerals.
Oh yeah,
I want to look at funerals online.
Iconic.
No, you really do. You really do.
Really?
Yeah, you really do.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll probably be like us and be like that. That's how you want to go.
Okay, I'm gonna make a note. Where's my?
Yeah, make a note. I'll make it hashtag so you can follow it.
Anyone who's never seen even a clip of a New Orleans style funeral, it is worth seeing. It gives you a different perspective on how humans handle death, and it's a good one. It's
okay.
I'll tie in one more theme about death, just because it's being brought to my mind by this. But when my father died, we had a memorial service for him within a week afterward. And it was one of the most surreal experiences I ever had, because I had already done my mourning before he died. So that alone was kind of surreal. And then we're at this memorial service, and my entire family was in a really good place. Nobody was really in any kind of suffering. Maybe my mom a little bit, but that was about it. So we were all in a great place. And before the memorial service in this particular church, they would have the immediate family meet with the minister in a private room next to the sanctuary. And so we're meeting with him, and we're having a great time. We're talking about stuff. We're talking about my dad. We're talking about stuff going on and so forth. And I'm looking at the look on his face, and he's got this weird look on his face. And it finally occurred to me that he was there to comfort us, and he didn't know what to do with family that didn't need.
Yeah. Like, so you guys already did my job for me. I'll be back next time.
Good, right? Good, right?
Right?
Because I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now, because y'all look good right now.
Right? You good, yo? You good, yo? All right, I'm out.
You.
What was really amusing about it, talk about formalized prayer and so forth. The only people in that grouping, my family, who were regular churchgoers were my mom and dad, and even that, they weren't totally regular. The rest of us, my sister maybe sometimes, my brother and I, not at all. My brother lately has, because his wife Fiona likes to go for social reasons, but not really churchgoers at all. And during the I guess the memorial, you can't really call it a sermon, it was a memorial message about my father that the minister gave. He remarked on how he was totally impressed by the tremendous level of Christian faith our family had. I'm sitting there going,
and see.
Somebody didn't read the memo.
No.
But it did reinforce for me something that I've believed for the longest time, but here it was in a real world situation to kind of confirm it. Faith has nothing to do with religion.
No.
And religion doesn't have all that much to do with faith
either. You are and what you believe. It has nothing to do with religion. And we kind of proved it. We just didn't tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That's I can't really do a Danjin because my name is Walt, so that's a Waltchen, and that doesn't really work too well. But that's my Walt.
I'm gonna let you use the word, because
he can have a Walt moment.
But Walt doesn't really have these moments. Walt is the one that brings us back down to ground.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He can have a Walt moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I actually think that Danjin should be, copyrighted anyway. So
I really do. I love it. Thank you for making it up, Alex. I think it's great.
I use it everywhere now, by the way, Alex.
You really?
Any podcast, anything where I go on a Danjin.
They'll be like, quick Danjin.
I apologize in advance as well.
It's great though. It's great. I mean, first of all, to have a word named after you, that's pretty cool. And to have one that's identified with you because of your name, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, go with it. Take it. Copyright it.
Run with it.
You were going to say though, Mr. Walt.
I have no idea.
Oh.
We just got,
As
we
per
just
usual.
got a little derailed there. I'll go to our live stream audience and see what's going on there. Jeffrey has shared a couple things. I'll point out a couple things he said. First of all, make your own choices and let others make theirs. That goes back to what we were talking
Yep.
about regarding judgment.
Mhm.
Yep, that's exactly right. Not sure what the context was, but I like the phrase, just take some deep breaths. That's always a good thing to do. That's
I
what you
mean,
do.
yeah, that's yeah.
Maybe they were talking about our vegetable tirades. They were just take deep breaths.
And then he thanked us for honest conversation regarding a sensitive subject. So that was good. And then he made a
We're here
comment
for.
that this is one of the rare times that Jeffrey said something, and I really don't know what it means. Maybe you know what it means. It may be a cultural reference. I don't know. He says, skinny tuba.
Nah, I don't know. What?
Skinny tuba, as in
Skinny tuba. Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe he was referring, because tubas are the long brass instrument.
No, tubas are the big
trombone.
fat ones.
Yeah.
So what's the long one?
That's
trombone.
The with the slide.
I'm out of this.
Yeah.
How about?
So, he clarified it. New Orleans jazz is called skinny.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And once again, the wisdom of Jeffrey prevails.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, so that's good. All right.
Alrighty. Okay, beautiful people.
Well, let me do a couple of promo messages. First of all, to answer Jeffrey's question once again, yes, there is another episode of The Grass is Greener coming after a delay of roughly 9 months. I mean, this is quite a pregnancy we had here.
Yeah.
Talk about cliffhangers, guys.
It really is. It really is. And this is a cliffhanger where they've been dangling over the cliff for quite some time, you know? So I figured we had to rescue them a little bit. Yeah. But yes, it is coming. Can't give you an exact date yet, but it is coming. So, you know, stay tuned and we will announce it when the third episode is available. And hopefully the fourth and fifth are going to come a lot quicker. Just to kind of, I won't give you the whole background, but to give you an idea of why it's taken so long. My sister is the director, and my sister has had to deal with directly being involved where my mom passed, having to deal with my mom's effects, sell the house, move out, all over the course of that 9-month period. So that's why we haven't been able to do it.
Yeah, she's been busy.
Yeah, she's had some stuff.
Just a few things,
yeah.
So we give her a lot of leeway on that one.
Yeah, we do.
Also, this is the regular message, of course. If you're not yet subscribed to the podcast, please become a subscriber. Most of you are, and we love you for it. But new subscribers, we're getting quite a few new faces coming through, and by faces I mean I'm seeing indications of unique listeners, unique listenership climbing over the last few weeks, especially. So if you are a new listener and you have not yet subscribed, please go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net, and you'll find instructions at the top of the page for becoming a subscriber. Usually 1 or 2 clicks for most people on most devices. It just kind of walks you right through it. It tells you how to do it for your particular device. And then follow us on YouTube, because we live stream as we are recording to YouTube. And our official YouTube announcer person on how to become a subscriber is our good friend Alex. So Alex, do your Vanna thing.
Okay, so you go to YouTube, search LOA Today podcast videos, and once you see our smiling faces, click down below to the red subscribe button. Next to the red subscribe button, there's a silver bell. Make sure you click all so you will always be notified when we are live.
She does that so well. I mean, really well.
I really love doing it.
I mean, the Wheel of Fortune should pick her up as far as I'm concerned. But
this is what I'm saying. Pay me the point. I'll do it.
You know, just on those days when Vanna needs to have a day off or something. But, you know.
I think she's due for a retirement.
I don't think Vanna is going to retire.
I don't think so either. I think she's going to be 90 and be like.
I mean, she's up there in years anyway. She still looks like she's 25. So why should she retire? You know? I mean, she takes care of herself really, really well.
She looks great.
She looks great, you know? So I see her being around for a long time.
Yeah.
But she'll still need breaks.
Facts.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And here I am.
And there you are, you know? So... agents, you can call Alex at, you know, no, we won't do that. But,
but you can at me at LOA Today podcast.
That's right. That's right. And Daniel, I know you've got your ongoing programs. Any programs that people need to know about that you're doing, like with your Facebook group or something?
You just missed like stuff. I did Friday challenge last week. Load of fun. It's still available, actually. People can still go and catch the replay. I'm going to leave it for another week. That's how to manifest your ideal life. So I teach how to do that. So about just set 5 days aside and do the couple of minutes each day. Getting ready, however.
If they want the replays, where do they find those?
Dreamwithdan.com/Facebook will take you to the Facebook group.
Okay.
Go ahead and join there. I do have a free gift I'm going to be giving away. I did a Facebook post about this. So the first visualization meditation for my album, Seeing Beyond Intention, is ready to release. Just waiting for iTunes to approve it. So to celebrate that being available, I'm giving away another visualization meditation that gets you into heart coherence. It's about 3-4 minutes long, and just listening to it tunes you up and gets you into, so it gets you out of stress, gets you into flow state. It's really, really cool. So I'm giving that away for free. So anybody who has an email list of any kind or an audience that they'd like to see served by that free gift, then go to dreamwithdan.com, get in contact with me through the contact form. I want to give this to as many people as possible. I'd love to get this in a few thousand people's hands. I think that would be really powerful to do. So
that's a feeling I know.
At the moment, I'm very focused on making that happen right now.
All right.
Giving away.
Well, we're throwing our energy into the ring with you to help you make that happen.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. So I want as many people to have this tool to be able to deal with stress, get into more of a flow state, get out of fight or flight, and to be more optimally performed. More importantly, just to be in the heart more. So very short audio. I want to give the MP3 away to as many people as possible.
Very good. I love it. Sounds good. And Alex, we expect you're going to continue to be on the mend. So no excuses Thursday, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. I don't plan on it. We'll put it that way.
We're going to have to work on Alex's affirmation skills, but we'll
work on that. There's definitely.
Listen, I just leave room for error. You can't blame me.
It's challenging to try to find out what is into what you want to be, but
yeah.
Practice makes perfect. That's the way I
look.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you, live streamers. Thank you, podcast listeners as well. See you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.